Walk you through this online simulation that you need to do. You should be able to do everything with your iPad, and if you are stuck on any of these questions, you can feel free to reach out to me via chat or discussion or email. Okay, so with this simulation, we're going to figure out molecular compounds, how they are arranged in 3 dimensions. Okay, and the things that we're going to be looking at are the types of bonds, the bond angles, and the amount of electrons that are shared. Okay, now this is a little bit of a review, but you should know the difference between ionic and covalent. Now, we are going to be looking at covalent today, and notice that the electrons are being shared. They are not being transferred, okay? And sometimes they share more than just 2 electrons, so we're going to look and see what happens. Okay, so I need you to go back into your notes and look at what is the difference between ionic bond and covalent bond, what kind of elements are involved with ionic compounds, what kind of elements are involved with covalent compounds, and then measurements that you're going to be measuring. Okay, by the way, here are some of the necessary definitions that you can use. And here's the procedure. So after you've done the first two, you're going to draw the dot diagram for all the molecules in your data table below. So notice that there are 2 dot diagrams right now, and if you don't like the way these are drawn, I will just show you the other version. So those circles just represent the fact that oxygen has 8 electrons around it and hydrogen only has 2. Now with this second dot diagram, we have carbon in the middle, and I don't know if you remember, I told you that covalent compound, the element that's in the center is the one that has the least number of valence electrons, and carbon has only 4, so that's why it's in the middle, and it's sharing more than 2 electrons with each oxygen. So as a result of it, it has 2 double bonds on either side of the atom. Okay, so you have to do the dot diagrams for all of them. Now the important thing is you also need to keep track of lone pairs. And lone pairs are essentially the electrons that are outside of the atom that are not being shared. So notice for water, there are 2 pairs of lone pair electrons. Now when you look at the bonds, this 2 sets of covalent bonds are the number of bonds present in the molecule. Now you're probably saying, where did they get that bond angle from? That bond angle is essentially from the simulation. I better use a darker color. So the simulation tells you, this is still not dark enough. The simulation tells you the bond angle, so you don't have to calculate it yourself. That's the good news. Okay. Make sure that you take a picture of all the compounds that you make using the simulation. Okay, now I'm just going to show you how to make carbon dioxide, because that is your next molecule that you have to make. And once you bring up your simulation, you just have to tap on that, and notice that they have a purple element with 2 gray elements attached to it, and there's representing 2 covalent bonds. Now I'm going to tap on the geometry just to show you something, and I'm going to tap on bond angles to show you the fact that when you have 2 covalent bonds with a central atom, you get 180 degrees for your bond angle. Now if you go back to the dot diagram, we have carbon dioxide. Notice that it's got 2 double bonds on either side. So the way that you want to change that is, sorry, I want to get rid of this. So notice that when I tap on the X's, that is how I add or remove bonds. So this is carbon dioxide, and notice that it has no lone pair on the central atom, the purple element, but it shares 2 covalent bonds. And you would essentially take a screenshot of this and then put it in your table here. So notice that when we look at the central atom, there's no lone pair of electrons. And then when we count up the number of bonds that are shared, notice that there are 4 shared with that carbon. Okay, so you're essentially going to go through all of these and create models. If you are stuck, please make sure you talk to me about it. Now notice that these last 3, there's technically no central atom, okay? So you might have different results as a result of it, okay? You obviously have post-lab questions, so make sure you use complete sentences and use your unique voice. I should not see carbon copy of your classmates' answers. Okay, so reach out to me if you have any questions.